Good evening, everybody. This is Robin with another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight. And my guest he's a filmmaker and also a writer, Karl Redgen. How's it going, Karl?
Good. Pretty good. It's cold here in Reno. It's lots of snow, which I'm not used to.
Hey, you know something? I'm out in Ohio, so it's pretty cold out here, too.
It's interesting from a boy from the country, Victoria, to now be in Reno in the mountains and having snow all over the ground is a unique experience.
Well, since you're from Australia, isn't it summertime over there right now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So my brother lives in Brisbane, and Outer Reaches is playing at a festival, and it's like can get up to 100 degrees sometimes.
Hey, it's all good. All right, let's get into this. I just checked out your sci-fi horror thriller, Outer Reaches. It kind of reminded me of kind of like The Thing / Alien a little bit. How'd you come up with that idea for Outer Reaches?
So it's interesting. I was in Victoria. I was doing some location scouting with my producer for a different film, and we went to this piece of water. So it's like a river, like where the river meets the sea, and it felt very alien. And we were back in the car discussing the film we were working on, and I said, "That's such a cool location. It would be such a good idea if like a capsule came back down towards Earth, and then the astronaut sort of was walking around this like alien world." And so it started out as just the sci-fi. It was going to be a film where the astronaut came back and he had to deal with the being alone on this unknown planet. And then I started thinking about it and was like, it would be really cool if he opened the capsule and there was like an alien inside. You know, that kind of shock to the audience. So I kind of came up. I've been sort of developing it for quite a few years. Just the idea playing in my head, and then early last year, I messaged my producer and said, "You know that film we talked about like 5 years ago? I've actually written a script, so we should film it. We should make the film."
That's pretty good. I love the special effects where you made it look like outer space, and where the astronauts crash landed on this alien planet. Actually, where was it filmed at? Was it like out in the desert?
No. So interestingly enough, it was shot in 1 hour from Melbourne. It is part of the airport there. It's called Avalon Airport. So originally we were going to shoot sort of more closer to the border, so about 4-hour drive from Melbourne. But logistically, it didn't quite work to bring the capsule there, to bring all the cast and crew there. I would have had to pay for accommodation for everyone on the set, and everyone having to drive so far away. And my set builder, the person that built the interior of the set, he worked on Preacher, the TV series, as this construction coordinator. And he said, "Well, I've got this location that we had the barn scene where they burnt down the barn in Preacher." And we went out there and did a shoot location scout, and it was perfect. It had all the little trees already there. It was just basically this like desolate land. And then I used visual effects with my visual effects supervisor, did all the sky replacement and took all of you could see the ocean. So we got rid of that with visual effects and made it look more kind of vast and open, like it was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I loved the capsule. How'd you guys make that capsule? It looks so like real like. It could have been a capsule from like NASA or something.
It's funny you say that, because when we were designing the capsule, I found a picture for the Boeing, I think it was called like the Dragon, and it's like their capsule that they put for SpaceX. And basically I sent it to my one of my friends who's a prop builder. He normally does puppets and does sort of creature stuff, but I said, would it be possible if you could build this capsule? And he went all out. He made it look super real. And we then put it in the back of a truck and drove the truck to this location. But the problem was it rained the night before, and it was all muddy, and the truck got stuck in the mud and came off the road and almost went into a ditch. So we unpacked the truck and put the capsule on where we wanted to shoot. And then the producer was on the phone for like 2 hours trying to get a tow truck company to pull the truck out. So really fun first day of shooting where we had to, use all the resources we had to not be stuck in the mud for, forever.
Yeah, the one scene I loved was where the main astronaut went back to open his capsule, and that's where he saw the alien, like that took over the other astronaut. The special effects on that creature, that alien type of, organism, man, that was so lifelike, and the tentacles, really played the part of it. It kind of had that John Carpenter feel in there a little bit too, where the alien is the host of the other astronaut. Tell me a little bit about the creature makeup and the SFX on that.
Yeah, so I got the special effects team, Sharp Effects. So they did the movie Late Night with the Devil that was played at Melbourne Film Festival last year. But they've also done movies like The Hobbit and Elysium and House of Wax. So I actually sought out the best creature team I could find in Melbourne. A few of my friends had worked with them before. And so it's basically started off with sort of development and letting the team know what I wanted. So I really wanted the creature to not be full alien. I wanted him to look human. He was in the process of being assimilated. So we wanted to keep his facial features, his eyes, his mouth, so we could see him when he was talking. And it was funny because when I got to the studio and wanted to see how they were going with the build, they were originally only going to do 4 tentacles. And then he was like, had all of his whole workshop working on it. And they made like 8 tentacles. So the tentacle that's wrapped around his neck actually pulsates like a heartbeat. And they put condoms in it and had like pushing things. So it would come like looking like blood. And on set, we had like him puppeteering the tentacle and then 3 kind of people like pumping the blood so that it literally looked like it was pulsating and breathing. So something that audiences might not even pick up was one of the biggest challenges for the tentacle on the creature.
Yeah, it seems like the actor was being a good sport, having all that makeup and that tentacle like wrapped around his, like neck. How did he take that during that scene?
Yeah, he really liked it. He's used to kind of prosthetic stuff, so he's actually mainly a stunt double. So he was Karl in the Mortal Kombat movie. He was also God in Preacher, and he was in the Thor film. So he's basically normally has prosthetics or alien creature makeup, and so he was really comfortable in the role. And what was funny is because he spent his whole performance just in the chair. He doesn't get out or anything. He doesn't move around a lot until the climax. So he was pretty comfortable. He was just chilling there and just bringing water and snacks. But the application itself, we arrived on the soundstage at like 6 a.m. and he was in makeup for like 4 hours maybe to get all the little tentacles on his face and get that, because if there's one shot where he has like a hand that's coming to a tentacle as well.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty big day. That for me personally, that was a 21-hour shoot day, including that makeup and bump out.
Now, tell me a little bit about the costumes. I love the astronaut suits. Did you make that yourself, or did you have like a customer?
Well, it was made by my production designer, Sasha. So what happened was when we were in the research stage, we found these cool concepts for SpaceX that were like very sleek and very minimal, because I wanted the actors to be able to move, because in a lot of sci-fi, they're in big, bulky astronaut suits. They walk like really slow. And so when I saw this concept, I went, well, we could replicate that and sort of have that as the design that Vast Horizons would create. And basically what I did is I bought 2 motorcycle jumpsuits that is for like speed racing, and it already had the armor plating and stuff in it. And what we did is we took all the logos off. We pretty much stripped all of the excess stuff, and we put like metal plates in where the logo was, using like tape that you would use to seal plumbing, because it had that chrome look, and then we sort of printed all the Vast Horizons logo we printed on, and we made it just. Then we dirtied it up. We just got like brushes and painted it in. So he did really well because the production designer had done a lot of shorts and done a lot of horrors, but he'd never done like a massive sci-fi where every single thing in the movie has to be designed. It has to have a purpose. And we were designing things like code names and things like there's a number on his suit that indicates his number that he was assigned when he joined the Space Force. So there's a lot of world building in that. And I got influence from Ridley Scott because in Alien he wanted every single element to be shown. Even if it wasn't on screen, he wanted it to be there and built and have a purpose. So we did that. There's a lot of stuff that you don't see, especially inside the ship. We had lots of different lights and lots of different, like a brain that is supposed to be the Artemis brain, which when you got a camera in close up or mid close up, you never end up seeing any of that. But there's a lot there. There's a lot of world building just in props and costume.
I liked Artemis. Artemis kind of reminded me of Jarvis from the Marvel films, but she had a female voice. How'd you come up with Artemis? Why was she, I love how you made her like the main part of the film where, she had that close connection with the astronaut.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Moon?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of similar to that, or kind of like Gertie and Interstellar. How we came up with that is that when the astronaut, Hargrave lands on the planet, well, he's kind of just walking around doing nothing. So we needed something for him to perform to and react to. So Artemis kind of acts as the ship itself. So she's an AI. She has a personality. And in this future world, she kind of is the communications from, the space on the spaceship itself. And the casting for that was interesting because I just went to like one of those websites where you can get voice actors to record a script. And I found this Scottish actress who had a really good voice, and it reminded me of when you're on a train and it tells you what the station's coming up. So it had that really personable voice, and I just reached out to her and said, "Look, I know you normally do commercials, I know you normally do TV, but I have this script idea. It's kind of a bit unique," and gave her the script, and she said that she loved it and was something completely unique and original that she'd never done before. And I think the voice ended up being perfect.
You also had a couple great cinematography shots in the film. I love the one shot where you see the main astronaut like walking on the desert planet. I love that pan shot, how you were zooming in where, he was a little bit confused, trying to figure out how he's going to survive, how he's going to get off the planet, and he's reaching out to the other Space Force. And I just love that scene. It felt like an intimate moment for him. You can feel him that he was like a little confused, going, all right, I'm on this planet. How am I going to get out of here? I got this alien in this capsule. What do I need to do? How am I going to get out of this situation?
And I think that part was really important for us because it showed the isolation and the desperation for Hargrave. He's lost everything. He's lost his wife. He's lost his home planet. He's now lost his best friend. And so for us, we really wanted the performer to kind of feel like he was at the end of his rope, in a sense, that he had no alternative, and that the only way that he could get out of this situation was by killing the alien. It's one of those moments where it's, either I die and the alien takes the ship, or I make sure that nothing else happens. And it's a very defining moment, which is why he runs back to the ship after he gets the idea. After all hope is lost, is what I said to my actor.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he nailed that role pretty good. I loved it. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody towards the ending. The ending was very powerful because you can feel the humanity side of him, knowing, this is what he has to do, and the whole sacrifice, because, you know, he couldn't let that thing, you know, leave the planet and conquer the universe. You just felt the humanity, you know, towards the end with the astronaut.
Yeah, and we really wanted to put something unique and new into a short film. I've seen a lot of short films. I go to a lot of film festivals, and you don't really get the full 3 acts. So what I really wanted to do when I was writing the script and working with the actors in rehearsal was that this is a full story. This is, you know, and there's the origin of landing on the planet, and then the end with the alien standoff. And so we really wanted to have that moment with the end to kind of be a final moment for that character to be, this is the decision I've made to now, I'm willing to sacrifice everything to save the rest of the world, or even save the crew on the biggest ship. So I think what we really achieved was that when people watch this film, they say the first question they always ask me is it going to be a feature? I want to watch more. I want to see more of the story. But as its own sort of individual film, I think you get all of the pieces and all of the world building, which I think is really achieved really well. It doesn't happen very often in short films, I don't think.
I don't think so too, and I totally agree with you. It would have been an awesome, you know, feature sci-fi film, you know, to really see more of the film. You know, I would have loved it. I mean, that would have been pretty cool. And also in your film, you had a lot of references from John Carpenter's The Thing in it as well. So, are you a huge John Carpenter fan?
Yeah, I am. It's funny because I actually have a feature film that I wrote that's not related to this, but it's a horror comedy that's set in a house party where an alien comes in and starts assimilating all the guests. And I wrote that first before this, but the alien creature is the same. It's a microscopic organism. It comes on a meteorite and then starts assimilating people. So I've always sort of had that John Carpenter's The Thing in mind. I really love the way that they were able to do the practical effects and have the creatures feel real, and with the actors. There is a lot of CGI in my film as well, but I feel that the performance, especially from the alien and the interaction between the two astronauts, really feels human. If an alien film can feel human, you feel like you could reach out and touch it. Like I said, the tentacles. All practical. The ship was all practical. So we really took. I mean, I'm not taking shots from The Thing and putting them in my movie. It's more of a homage. It's more of an influence and something that I love. The Thing is probably my favorite horror film. I also love Halloween, but this is a sci-fi, not a slasher.
Hey, you know something? You could have made an alien slasher film in the near future, too.
What, like Jason X?
No, we don't want to get into Jason X.
But, yeah, it's so... There's a lot of that in there. I'm actually writing a new horror film that I'll be shooting later in the year, and there's a scene in there where a dog turns inside out, and another Thing reference, so... that will be probably in all my future films will always have this kind of John Carpenter-esque feel in them, which I like.
Shoot, you had my intention about the film you were going to do about the alien killing everybody at the party. I would love to watch that. That would be fun as fuck.
Yeah, and so that could be coming shortly. I'm going back to Australia in a little bit, and then I'll make this short. And then I'll be moving back to America at the end of this year, and then hopefully getting funding to shoot a feature. And, you know, the Alien Party movie could be on the cards. You know, got to get funding first, got to get financing. That's the hardest part.
Since you're from Australia, how popular is indie filmmaking in Australia? Is it like real big in making indie horror and indie sci-fi out in Australia?
Not really. We don't actually have an industry per se. So there are a fair few films that get made, nowhere near as America. But we do like to make indie horror. So James Wan and Lee Warnell, they're both from Australia. So movies like Upgrade or The Invisible Man, they're both sort of like that kind of Australian low-budget films, which I think is good. So you do have that, and then, movies came out like the one that was really popular last year, Late Night with the Devil. So you've got a couple of filmmakers that are coming out. And I don't know if you saw it, you probably did, but Talk to Me, which came out last year.
Good film.
Massive for Australian horror films. And I think it actually really paves the way for people like me who are trying to break into the industry, where you can have two guys who are YouTubers, get a $5 million budget, and make one of the best horror movies ever made. So it's getting there. I think people are starting to come around and be more receptive for Australian horror. Sci-fi, not so much. I think I was very ambitious with this short film. No one is crazy enough or dumb enough to put their own money into a sci-fi film that is going to just not make any money. But, that's why we do what we do. We love making films.
Hey, that's the best way to be. I was just curious, if horror was really popular, over in Australia, So you've been showing your films like at different film festivals, is that correct?
Yeah, so it's played at a few festivals so far. It won Best Sci-Fi at the Atlanta Horror Festival. It won a few other awards. It's playing tonight. It's playing at the Brisbane Indie Film Festival. I don't know when this podcast episode's coming out, but so that's pretty good. And then in a couple of weeks' time, playing at the Days of the Dead Film Festival in Atlanta. So it's getting a bit of buzz, getting a lot of people sort of talking about it that are very excited to see it. I think that's going to be the big festival of the one so far. And I think that a lot of people are enjoying it. And it's nice to see audiences, people messaging me and emailing me saying, I saw the film, it was amazing. And it's great because this is my first sort of completed film that's been in a festival and not just sitting on my hard drive or on YouTube. So it's good to sort of have that recognition of people who saw it at a film festival or saw it online and were like, oh man, that movie was awesome.
So have you sat in with some of the audience to see what their reactions for your film?
Not yet. I was hoping to go to a few. So I went to Screamfest in LA and Ferratum in Mexico. But again, because my movie is more sci-fi, not horror, these festivals sort of couldn't curate it. When I was sitting with watching the movies, I was like, okay, I see why. All these movies are very dark, they're very moody, they're very horror related. But I think that's okay. I think that originally I was a little bit bummed that I couldn't go to these festivals and enjoy it with the audiences. But I think that I like making something more unique, more original, that, it pushes a lot of limits that, to be a new filmmaker and make an impression, you got to get a lot of rejections to get that yes.
Hey, like I said, when you sent me that screener, I really did enjoy it, because there's really not that many sci-fi horror in the indie film making industry at all. I mean, there's probably some out there, but I just like it. It's different because I've seen so much indie horror. It's kind of nice to see like a sci-fi horror. Like another good example, I saw another one. It was at the Whorehound Film Festival. It was called The Rider, and it was sci-fi. It's just about this rider who's like this killer, going out, on a motorcycle, this awesome leather jacket and this weaponry, and that was something different, cool. So when I was watching your film, it's kind of neat to see something original, just like if you ever get a chance, you need to check out The Rider. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I like being original. I think that, as I was saying earlier, you don't really see this at short film festivals because no one really has the budget or, the time. People are going to make horror because you get it into film festivals. It's easy to make. You can grab a camera with some buddies and shoot something for relatively cheap, and everyone has a bit of fun. But I really wanted to treat this like we were shooting a proper feature. It just happened to be it was only a 10-page script. So I got the best I could get. I got the best actors. I got the construction team to build the interior of the set. They're all working on the TV series of Metropolis, the remake of the Fritz Lang movie. And so I got lucky. I got a lot of big name people on board on my shoot who, read the script, who loved the idea, and who was willing to put in the time to make a really awesome horror sci-fi that hasn't been seen before. So I think a lot of people are very excited about it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. So when you go to Days of the Dead Atlanta, you got to hit me back and let me know what the horror fans thought of it over in Atlanta. I'm just kind of curious. I want to know, because Days of the Dead is a great horror film festival too. They get a lot of great horror feature films and short films. I love covering that film festival. Besides Horror Hound and Nightmares Film Festival, those are my top 3 favorite horror film festivals I love to cover. But yeah, I'm just curious to see what the reaction is for at Days of the Dead, because they got their unique horror fans and community there too. So
yeah, and it's interesting. When I got accepted and saw the lineup, there is a lot of horror films. There's a lot of B-grade schlock films which I really like, and I do feel a little bit like the outsider, so it will be interesting to message you and be like, oh yeah, the audience loved it. So I feel really privileged, actually. I feel that both George and Audrey have really come out, and they've been very respectful and really kind and open. Their sort of like, they always reply to my emails. They always message me, which I really think is, I feel valued as a filmmaker, even though my film doesn't quite fit with that kind of horror crowd, especially if you look at the massive guests that are there for some of one of the biggest movies of all time in that horror genre. Then I feel like I'm going to be able to showcase something that they might not have seen before, that they can we can connect, because we're all filmmakers and film fans. But I think there's going to be a lot of people that will walk out of that cinema and be really impressed, especially combining things like what you were saying with the alien and the practical ship with CGI. That's something that doesn't really happen very often, where you combine something that's super sci-fi and hard sci-fi and something that's more like The Thing, or like Event Horizon or something like that.
Yeah, so where can everybody find you on social media to see what you're going to be doing next?
Cool. So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook. So my handle is 1 page per minute, the classic screenwriting saying. So anything that's 1 page per minute, my website's onepageperminute.com, social media handles all the same. So I'm quite easy to find.
That's pretty, I love that handle, man.
Yeah, it's funny because I think that people kind of like pushed it away. I mean, I don't believe in 1 page per minute. Making a film with 10-page script and then you have a 12-minute film, and I've written about 5 features. I kind of know that it's not necessarily the rule, but it's kind of more than that. It's about, every minute of your life you can consume something that will make you better at your craft. And you read 1 page of poetry, or read 1 page of a script, or watch a 1-minute short, and you're going to improve your ability as a writer and filmmaker.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
You're very welcome. I hope to see anyone at the Days of the Dead or at another film festival, or feel free to send me a message, and we can chat about films and chat about John Carpenter.
Hey, I love John Carpenter. That's a good conversation. And everybody, thank you for listening to Horror Pop After Midnight. Have a great evening.